We're official, Matt.
We are. They decided to let us do this, which is kind of cool.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
So
Abs-
after a crazy winter slash spring across the country, has things started heating up in your area, sir?
oh yeah, absolutely, man. It was
Yeah.
uh it was in the 90s last week, and
Ugh.
then it jumped back down, and
Yeah.
today it's mid 80s. We're here in
Mm-hmm.
the Dallas area, so kind of all over the map.
Ooh. Yeah. We've been 80s all week here in Colorado, and it's going to dip down a little bit tomorrow, but we have had an auspiciously dry winter and spring. So
Mm,
fire season's going to be fun.
you bet. You
Well,
bet.
I want to say welcome to everybody who's hopping on. We're going to wait just another minute or so. Little bit of housekeeping. We got the chat open, so if you want to throw anything in there, feel free. But we will have a little brief Q&A at the end. So just so we don't miss any of your questions, use the little Q&A button. I had to be instructed to hit more to find it, and then it'll show up there. So let's see. Anybody talking to me in the chat? Nobody? Not yet. Oh, there we go. That's what I'm talking about, Mary. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Got to represent Colorado.
There you go. Colorado's running a little low on snow this year, aren't they?
Yeah.
I
We've
saw.
had, I don't know, a couple of times I've had to shovel, which is what, nothing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What's up,
Kaylee,
Kaylee? Yeah.
howdy. Haven't met you, but looking forward to it in the future.
She
A
is
fan
awesome. She
fan
is
of PBT is a
greatness.
fan of mine.
Yes. Yes. You'll love Kaylee when you get to meet her. She's fantastic.
Nice. Welcome, Denise. Oh my gosh, land of pollen. You're not kidding, Laura. I feel like I'm feeling it here. So if I sniffle a little bit, I'm not sick or contagious. It's just allergies, maybe, and I'm in my basement. Wouldn't take it to look at me, but cool. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're a couple minutes past the hour. So again, just thank you guys for coming. David and I are just honored to be here. We know that Easter is super important. You guys have probably been talking about it since January, right after Christmas, basically, and all your plans are set. So we just wanted to carve out a little bit of time to talk about engaging your guests post Easter, right? And so that's the theme of today's topic. Yes, we're going to talk about how to do that digitally and through text, but we just want this to be really valuable, give you guys some good ideas. If you haven't met me before, I'm Matt Brown. I'm with Touchpoint. I'm a software evangelist, and occasionally they let me co-facilitate one of these things. And I'm honored to introduce you guys to David Rogers. If you guys have never met David, he's a former pastor, and from the moment that we met, he's just highly relational and intentional. So yeah, you guys are in good hands today. I'm just Flash. He's bringing the meat and potatoes. David, did you want a little introduction? You want to say anything in particular?
Oh man, you're doing great. Just maybe a little background. The last 3 years I've been with Powered by Text, and came from, as you mentioned, 30 years of the pastoral ministries. And my family was kind of chuckling when he said, "You're what? You're a part of a software company?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." They said I didn't have to know any of that. Just pastor the partnerships. Take what you know from
Yep.
pastoring churches and pastor these partnerships. And so I've had a blast the
Mm,
last 3.5, 4 years working with Powered by Text.
that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
your passion definitely comes out, and I'm looking forward to today's conversation. Um,
absolutely.
so before we dive into our first question here, I like to always just set the tone with the scripture and a quick prayer. So just thinking about preparation and guests and everything else, pulled this one out of Colossians 4:5-6. Live wisely among those who are not believers and make the most of every opportunity. Let your conversation be gracious and attractive so that you will have the right response for everyone. And so our hope today is just that our conversations would be seasoned with salt as we engage both our current members and our guests. And then let's just see where the Lord takes us. So I'll open us up in prayer. Father, I thank you so much for today. Thank you for every opportunity that you give us to serve your kingdom. Thank you for our church partners there on today's webinar. God, we just pray that our conversation would be fruitful and would give greater insight and inspiration to engage the lost, the hurting, the broken that come in during Easter, that they would become fully devoted followers of Jesus. God, we love you. We trust you. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Awesome. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to talk a little bit about the why and understanding guest expectations and behaviors, some texting strategies. I'm sure you knew that David was going to be here, so we're going to talk about text, right, and give you some real concrete strategies that you guys can implement. A couple of examples, and then connecting technology with ministry, and hopefully I talk fast enough that we will have some Q&A and a couple of announcements at the end. So we want to honor your time today. So let's just talk about the why, right? Before we begin, I would just love to hear from you, David. What have you been hearing regarding the church, right? What's the state of the church,
Mhm.
state of technology in the church? Like, give us a little context of what you've been hearing as you've been talking to your church partners and the people that you're connected with.
Sure. I'll tell you one thing actually came out this week. I was reading some findings, some research, some analysis from the Unstuck group.
Mm,
I like to see what those folks have to say. They do a lot of great research.
yeah.
Their Q1 report for 2026 was really talking about this theme that they're seeing of how momentum since COVID has continued to be accelerating, but it's starting to decelerate a little bit. So
Mm,
people coming back from what pre-COVID was. And so the point that they were making is while it's still there, it's just not with the same force that it was those first few years. There's
yeah.
still good momentum, but we're having now to think about how are we going to engage with those people that are coming in a more strategic fashion? And so, what they were really encouraging is take a look at your systems. How are you
Hmm.
engaging people? And how are you following up? And so, as I'm reading that, I'm just like, I can help you with that. That is what we do. And so,
Yep.
I just thought that was an interesting perspective and observation that our friends over there were sharing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everything we do, in serving the churches and our church partners should be done with intention, right? Not just communication for communication's sake, but
Right.
as we kind of invite people to take their next faith step, identifying that, kind of
Yep.
subgrouping that, and making sure that that messaging is really concrete and clear. So
Mhm.
it's maybe it was nice to get this big boom post COVID, but it's important to still disciple intentionally in that messaging being intentional. So thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Um, Thinking a little bit about okay, we're going to have a bunch of people here on Easter. We're going to have a lot of guests that maybe they only come twice a year. It's very commonplace. Pastor 30 years, you're very familiar with that. Um, but let's talk about, texting and communication and guest behavior in general. What is it that makes texting different or more effective to connect with church guests?
Yeah. Well, it's just a cheat code. Communication, um, the algorithms that are all over our lives. The rate of open is 98%.
Mm-hmm.
And the response of a text coming somebody's way, 90% will respond in 3 minutes or less. And so when I look at the different surveys, when I look at the different preferred communication styles, we consistently see texting, and particularly text with short video messages,
Mm,
are really at the top of the list. I mean, we're not saying never email, we're not saying never pick up the phone. We're just saying if you just want to look at the stats, it's not even close from
yeah.
being able to connect with that person that you're trying to engage with, build a relationship and some rapport with, and then help lead them in the direction that you know is going to add value to their life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have more unread emails in my inbox right now than I care to put a number on. But as
Yeah,
far as unread text messages, I'm pretty sure that number's still at zero unless I had one come in recently. So
that's right. That's right. You're
you'll
you're
at
you're
least see it.
supporting the statistics. That's right.
Yeah, I'm just another statistic. That's all,
That's
David.
right. That's right.
So, being a pastor for the last, for 30 years previous to PBT, and you're still a pastor, right?
Sure.
Pastoring church partners through technology.
Sure.
Knowing what you know now, what would you have loved to have when you were a pastor on
Mhm.
the texting front, to engage people, right? Like you know all these things that Powered by Text is able to do, but what would you have loved to have had if you were still in that pastor seat?
Yeah. When I was pastoring our church through COVID, I was religiously reading and listening to Carrie Newhoff, as I'm sure
Mm,
many on our are. And he kept saying, when we get on the other side of this pandemic, the churches that figure out how to engage with people are going to be the churches that see fruitfulness and success in a different kind of way. And I kept sitting there back then going, what are you talking about? Give me an example, something concrete. And then I stepped into the role at PBT in September of 2022, and I was like, that's what Carrie was talking about. And when I
mm,
think about texting, I think of text in about three different kind of buckets. Information flow, what do my people need to know at the
yeah,
church? Engagement, text, sign up here. Here's a way to register, volunteer in this. So engagement, and then spiritual formation or digital discipleship. And
mm,
so, had I known just a few years ago when I was still in the pulpit every Sunday, what I know now, the engagement to our folks would be completely different. The
yeah,
information flow would be completely different. And the spiritual formation opportunities digitally would be completely different, especially if I had AI at my fingertips, because I could take my message that I was preparing for, run that through AI,
yep,
prompt it in such a way that what I say on Sunday could then be engaged with the next 5 days
yeah,
through text in a meaningful way. So, oh, I wish I'd have known that. Not to mention things like guest engagement, just being able to set up what we call drips that
hmm
enable people to hit a keyword and then move them down our, desired path towards better engagement or membership or whatever the case may be.
yeah. What was maybe something specific? Like unpack that a little bit more, because I think, at least from my standpoint of previously being on staff, like I get the information piece, like here's an update, church is
Mm,
canceled, there's an ice storm, blah, 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 right?
right.
But like engagement and spiritual formation, like give me just a couple of like meat and potatoes examples behind that as far as what would it look like to engage your guests, not
Mhm.
just post Easter, but in general? Like, how do you identify? Um,
Sure.
where does that intentionality kind of come in?
Yeah, it's hard to get people to give their information up. Um,
Mm,
but being able to help them take a next step when they're ready.
yeah.
I mean, most people probably know before they step foot in your space, they're probably checking you out online.
Hmm.
And so being able to have clear keywords that are going to be helpful in their process of finding out more information. And so
Hmm.
while as a lead pastor, I might be the most recognizable face, there's opportunity through a texting drip where we're dripping out messages for a guest to be able to maybe meet some of the other staff members in a
Mm, yeah.
coordinated, intentional way. So, not that you're going to meet every single person, depending on the size of your staff, but you may
Sure.
have some of the more recognizable faces from kids ministry or student ministry or whatever the
Hmm.
case may be, and being able to have an introduction through text messages. If all they had to do as a guest was maybe hit a word like guest or connect,
Hmm.
and just letting them know, hey, if you'd like a little more information about who we are and what we're about, just text the word connect to whatever your code is,
Mm.
and in a very non-threatening way, they can begin to understand who we are as a church, what the avenues might be there for them to
Yeah.
engage their family, and just what some next steps might look like. It's a non-threatening way to be able to understand a little bit more about what God may be leading them to do.
Yeah, that's a really great on-ramp of like, hey, we want to get to know you, but we're going to allow you to kind of like meet us on your terms, so to speak. Like,
That's
yes, you're
right.
texting this word, but we're not, going to ask you to fill out, a 6-page form and social security number and credit card and all that today.
That's
So,
right.
so talk to me a little bit more about how churches can move the conversation from a simple text message into a real relationship. Like every year at Summit, and I'm excited. PBT's coming back to Summit.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. Sorry, couldn't hold back my excitement. But our churches always want to talk about discipleship and relationship and seeing the
Mhm.
one and making the big church feel small. So talk to me a little bit about how we can go and convert texting into a message for real relationship.
Yeah. When I think about that question, what comes to mind is really a filter that we've been trying to approach our texting consultations with, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really this question: what value are you going to add to somebody, or try to add to somebody with
Mm,
this text campaign?
yeah.
Whether it's informational or engagement or spiritual formation, what's the value? Because you don't want to just blow people up to blow people up.
Yeah.
And so being able to sit there and go, okay, if I'm trying to establish rapport and relationship, well, how am I going to do that most effectively? That's where I think a short video could be incredibly powerful, because I'm getting to see and hear the voice of a ministry leader, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's a pastor or a ministry director or whatever the case may be. And that is beginning to make a relational connection with me. I'm
Yeah.
starting to become more familiar with, that's a trusted voice. I know that, I recognize that person. So subconsciously, something's happening there if I'm not just having to read a
Mm-hmm.
message, but I'm actually able to hear and engage. There's a different emotional connection. And then what we've seen happen is inviting people over time to share a
Mm,
prayer request, share a response to a question such as, what's bringing you anxiety?
mm,
And what we've seen by cultivating those kinds of we've just kind of been calling
mm,
them digital safe spaces, or a digital trusted space, a digital
mm-hmm.
confessional booth even. And it's allowing people to say on a text or online what they might not say face to face. And we've seen some
Sure.
incredible responses, vulnerable responses. And so that's one of the things that I'm so grateful that our strategists have the privilege of doing, is helping to cultivate those spaces and lead those texts more from just informational to relational.
Mm. I love that. You're really speaking to the small group director on the inside of me, asking just really insightful questions and
Yeah.
talking about those digital safe spaces. You and I were talking earlier, just the fact that it's not necessarily like you're asking anything of them, but you're inviting them into a conversation and a relationship, knowing that that's going to lead to discipleship, right? It's not just like, oh, volunteer, oh, do this. Like, sure, you know, being a fully devoted follower looks like something, but we need to see the person first. We need to meet them where they're at. We need to care for them. And you're
Yeah.
right, like it's a lot easier to do that with your thumbs than it could be over, a cup of coffee. And so no, I really love that.
Yeah.
Moving into maybe some practical examples, things that you've seen from churches in the past or some that you're doing now. Can you give me an example of a church that's doing a great job engaging their guests?
Oh man,
I know
man.
Easter's already
Yeah.
kind of planned,
Yeah.
might be kind of tight window, but this is a long-term solution, a value add that I think a lot of our churches would benefit from.
Sure. Sure. a million examples, but one that I'll focus on is actually happening in the same city where the Masters is going to take place, Augusta, Georgia.
Mm,
There's a Touchpoint church down there, Abilene Baptist Church, and
yep.
a client of ours, great people, and they have a huge heart for their community. So just this past week, they actually had a large community event, and at the end of that event, they know guests are going to be there, tons of them, thousands of people. Actually, I think it's like 7,000 people came. Their pastor on the field at the end of that day just created a quick little video thanking people for coming, just
Mm,
thanking the folks for being there and being present, and inviting them to church the next day. If you wanted to see what that looked like, you see it there on the screen. You can just text
yeah.
ABC for Abilene Baptist Church to 77007, and you'll see the engagement that happened out of that community event. I just love what they're doing down there. I love the way they've got a digital bulletin that allows for more information, allows those folks that may be looking for a church home to be able to see what's going on. And anyway, it's just we were brainstorming just this week with their team about other ways that we can connect with them and help them in their follow up. So this is just one
Mm.
of several, and our strategists would be more than happy to schedule time to help your church with these types of strategies that you'll see coming up on your phone.
I love how just simple and beautiful this is. And one of the things that stuck out to me when I first got to know the heart of Powered by Text was just the strategist, right? The consulting that's kind of that's a value add, to each one of our churches that, hey, we do customizable software and database and there's a uniqueness and relational ability with us that we want to see churches and meet their unique needs. And in
Sure.
the same way, PBT's doing that as well and sitting down and hearing what the Lord's put on their heart and how to reach their people. And it's incredible to see what Abilene's been doing. So I don't know if they're on the call today. Maybe we should have given them a heads up. But great job. We might send them the YouTube link later just to give them a nice little shout out. So
Yeah.
um, talking a little bit more value again. I know Easter, Holy Week, right around the corner. Maybe some things, some easy misses that we don't want people to forget. But what's some simple things, or one simple thing, if you need to boil it down to that, that
Sure.
every church should probably start doing this year to better engage their guests?
Yeah. One thing is, as you're approaching Easter, I know there's not a whole lot different or more that you can do, but one thing is to make sure that your keywords are ready for those opportunities that you
Hmm.
know are coming, like for summer camps or VBS, those big things that you're probably going to be promoting anyway
Yeah.
in some form or fashion because you know those guests are coming. You hadn't
Hmm.
might not have seen them since Christmas, but they're going to be looking for things to engage their kids or their families
Hmm.
in the coming weeks and months as summer approaches, and making sure those kinds of things are ready.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is to approach post Easter as a laboratory when it comes to your texting.
Mm.
Experiment, try things. The summer and late spring are great times to try new things and see what gains traction,
Yeah.
because you know as well as I do, just being in their church rhythms, once you get past Easter, there's this huge exhale.
Yeah.
And then you kind of move through the back half of the spring. May's its own crazy month with Mother's Day, and you've got National Day, and you've got graduations and Memorial Day, and then you get into summer months and it's out of normal rhythm. The laboratory approach, if you're thinking and trying new things during that time, I'm really trying to lead people toward what's going to be ready to roll that you know is gaining traction once school starts back.
Mm. Hmm.
And so trying different things post Easter in those weeks and months between the end of Easter and the start of that school year can be a very valuable and strategic time.
Yeah, no, for sure. You you touched on it earlier today, just talking about AI. And you and I were kind of talking previously too, but like allowing AI to write devotional content or something like that, right? Something that's still biblically based. It's off of yours, but a scripture, a question, so if
Yeah,
you want to have people opt into something engagement wise, or yeah, the older my kids get, the more I definitely want to find activities for them to do during the summer. So having
right.
that clear plan and, your keywords and things like that dialed in is always a great idea.
Yeah, yeah. That AI, man, the opportunity, particularly from a pastor standpoint.
Hmm.
I mean, I'd work my tail off every week for 30, 45 minutes and then it's gone.
Hmm.
But with AI to be able to chop that into more bite-sized moments for
Yeah.
spiritual formation, there should
Hmm.
never be a sermon preached that's not engaged throughout the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
show me one pastor that's going to go, no, I just want them for the 30, 45 minutes on a Sunday. I don't want them thinking about my stuff that the Lord's, birthed in me over the last. Nobody's going to do that. And to be
Yeah.
able to craft some pieces that can help people continue to think about whatever they were engaging with over the weekend, man, that can just be
Hmm.
so powerful. And I love that our strategists have the privilege of helping people that we serve alongside. We're really just fractional staff members. We
Right.
we parachute in and can help lift the load of whatever they're dealing with and show
Yeah.
them what we see working in other churches. And so just love that the Lord's allowing us to do that and
Yeah.
repurpose some of that content in some really powerful ways. And even creating our own templates that
Hmm.
we know, like the National Day of Prayer is coming up. It's always the first Thursday of every May. And to know, okay, that's coming. We know our nation's in a place right now where it definitely could use some prayer. Well,
Hmm.
how can our team come alongside and maybe think a little bit ahead and go, hey, here's a template that we've already created. If you'd
Hmm.
like to use it, plug and play, invite
Yeah.
your church to text the word pray or national or whatever it is, and then allow those that want to engage with some content that's we've already created for you. So glad to help pass that along to anybody on the call or that's watching this recording that might like to get a little more information. You can text me. You can just text David to 77007. I'll be glad to connect with you and help you if you need some help there.
You threw a 007 out there. That was real slick.
007. Yeah.
No, I love the idea of just midweek content. Obviously, it's a reminder. Things get so busy.
Yep.
I know stepping out of working at a church to now, working in an office, my office 9 to 5, I feel busy and I forget to stop and slow down and reflect and kind of put into place those things that the message was about. And I love that you guys have playbooks because we don't need to reinvent the wheel here, right?
Right.
The technology is at our fingertips, and there's a lot of churches doing creative things, and you guys are writing your own really great playbooks, and so all you have to do is ask, right? And get something really valuable for your church. So pivoting a little bit, connecting technology and ministry. Um, I know we've been talking about texting a lot, but how can our churches here combine texting with the database with Touchpoint to create a better guest experience, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, with the integration that we have with Touchpoint, there's a great opportunity to understand the communication that's happening, who's
Mm-hmm.
saying what, who's been receiving what, and especially when it comes to things like turnover. Maybe you've got some staff turnover and somebody else is taking over a position or they're shifting, and you're not sure what's been said to who and when was it said and who responded to
Sure.
what. That's where some of that integration can be extremely helpful.
Mm-hmm.
What I know is that technology always has bumps and burps and things like that. And so, what I love about our relationship with Touchpoint is that we have the opportunity to say, "Hey, here's something that we're bumping our heads against," or "Hey, here's
Mm-hmm.
something that we're hearing that needs an update or to smooth." And man, you guys are so gracious to always go, "Man, tell us more. How can we make that a better experience?" And so, just being in
Mm,
alignment there with your team and what you're trying to do on a database level, and then coming in from a texting and that engagement or spiritual formation or information flow, that's been really really wonderful. And I think there's some great ways that we can continue to explore how those two can mesh.
yeah, no, I love it. I mean, the integration's awesome just to be able to see everything all in one place so people aren't being under communicated to or
Right.
over communicated to, right? And so I think that's great.
That's right.
Um, here's a quick little reminder. We're getting close to our Q&A time. We're gonna got one more question here. So if you have any questions, hit the little Q&A button. If you don't see that, hit the three little dots for more and pop that up just so we don't miss them, and we can always follow up with any questions that we don't answer live here. But before we get to that, David, some quick hitters, right? We've
Sure.
got Easter plans in place, it's solid. But what are some big things, some important reminders just for churches, some real quick ones on what to do, what not to do this Easter and afterwards?
Sure. If you have the opportunity to say thank you for coming, man,
Mm,
that's low hanging fruit. Was talking with a church this past week that knows, like everybody else, there's going to be tons of visitors, and they're actually setting up a keyword that's just hello out in the parking lot for first time guests. And and the response on that is going to be their pastor just saying, "Hey, thanks so much for being here. We're so glad that you came to be a part of our Easter services." And so anybody that texts into that, they're then going to follow up with, "Hey, thanks so much for being with us. If there's a way we can be praying for you, know that we'd love the opportunity to do that." So that's that's just one idea to be able to say thanks for coming,
yeah,
and using text to be able to do that in a relational and effective way.
yeah, no, for sure. I love that. It's finding those safe spaces and non pressure ways to engage
Yep,
somebody and to just start a conversation and to keep the big church feeling small, right? God is
sure.
allowing us to steward these people. Everybody who walks through those doors is a soul,
That's
right?
right.
And thinking about the lost sheep that yes, texting can be massive and everyone can get it. And then we can also subgroup that. And
Yep,
and we can also speak directly to their situation and what they've asked for. And so
yeah.
um yeah, no, I
I'd also say this too. A couple of other things that came to mind. Back to those keywords,
hmm
it might not be a bad idea to go and check and make sure that all those keywords have accuracy on the back end. It may be that
mm,
something has changed or some information has changed. So if you're going to be throwing keywords up there, making sure they're solid and saying what
just
you want
double
them to
check.
say, just double
Yeah.
checking.
hmm
That would be something I'd encourage you to do.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I I have kind of a fun question here.
Okay.
What would be maybe a simple text message keyword strategy that a church could send within the first 24 to 48 hours after Easter, right? If you gather that guest information, or maybe it's church wide, I don't know, you let me know. But what would be something simple, fun within the next day or so right after Easter that you can just keep that momentum going?
Yeah, sure. Well, back to the thank you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's gonna get mad at you
That.
for saying thanks for being here. Um, and again, that's that relational connection. So
hmm
if your pastor or ministry leader or somebody that is recognized from the church, being able to
mm,
follow up and just say, "Hey, we're really glad that you were here.
yeah.
You're always welcome." And we know that, uh, you know, spring and summer events are on the way. If you'd like a little more information on how you can be involved, just click the link below and it'll show you some upcoming dates. So
Yeah.
that would be an idea that would be pretty easy. It's a value add, or inviting people to
Yeah.
share a prayer request. That's another way.
Mm, yeah. Hey, how can we be praying for you?
How can we
Right.
be praying for you? That's
Yeah. Hmm.
is going to get upset if
Yeah.
if you're inviting them to share, because everybody's dealing with something. Everybody's got some
Yeah.
kind of burden or dealing with some kind of anxiety.
Hmm.
So just naming it and allowing the opportunity for people to share, they either will or they won't. And if they do, that's an open door to walk through, minister to
Yeah.
somebody.
No, for sure. We had a looks like we had a question in the Q&A from my cousin, who's not really my cousin, Miss Jessica. Um, is texting a keyword something that can put someone in a process? And I think this is a little more probably touch point related. And the
Yeah.
answer is yes. Okay, now I'm on the marketing side of things. I'm a little bit in the database, but David's going to have to do some strategery consulting with me. But yes, our wonderful Miss Haley Whitworth, who used to be over training, is going to type something up specific for you. But the short answer is yes. And I would have thought so, and I'm thankful it is. But yeah, you put somebody in a process and you're able to start, tracking that and engaging them and kind of taking them as we started off talking about the intentionality of discipleship and formation and things like that. So texting is a really great on ramp to get them into a process and connect with them that way.
Yeah, that's what comes to my mind on that is what we were talking about earlier, a little bit on guest engagement. You just referenced it, but that's where something like a drip can be very
Mm,
helpful. Where we know people are going to be coming on to our campus, into our
hmm.
church that are new and trying to find out what does my next step need to look like,
Yeah.
and being able to have some very well thought out, clear
Hmm.
messages that can be sent on a regular time. We call it dripping it out,
Hmm.
three, four, five times over the next week or two.
Yeah.
That's very, very, very helpful in moving people towards what you're trying to get them to, which is greater engagement and connection.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's great. Oh man, I'm just so thankful like that we get to do what we can do, right? And every text, every piece of information, every data, it's just another opportunity, it's another invitation to
Yep.
see people and to invite them to come and see, right?
Yep.
And so if we sit back and we're just too scared to engage and wait for them to come to us, then I feel like there's a missed opportunity. But if we really think intentionally about that messaging and invite them to take their next step, right?
Yep.
I think that's where ownership takes place. That's where
Yep.
growth takes place, and that's what we see in the early church, right? Of
For
people
sure.
inviting people, and it just continues to grow.
And along those lines, I would say one of the conversations that we have is, "Oh, I don't want to text people too much, or I don't want to blow." The beautiful thing about the way, with Powered by Text, that we set up our texting is we give people the opportunity to say, no more.
Sure,
I don't
right.
want any more. Stop. And so while you don't want to blow people up, what we also say is let the data set you free.
Sure,
Meaning,
right.
if they're not saying stop,
Hmm.
that's not changing the fact that the statistics still say 98% of the texts that get sent get read.
Right.
And they're looking for guidance and direction and inspiration from their church leaders, from their
Yeah.
ministry leaders, which goes back to the value question. I don't, am I just sending a text to send a text? Or am I really sending something that's going to add value to their life and encourage them
Right.
or inspire them or invite them into something?
Yeah. No.
They're not going to get life. And when you see those opt out rates staying low, keep it flowing. They're reading
Yeah.
it, they're engaging with it, and they're allowing you to lead them. So that's a huge responsibility, and I don't take that lightly. I'm grateful that I have the privilege of being able to help church teams think about what that value add to those folks' lives may need to look like.
Mm, yeah. No, I love that. I love your heart, David. And I knew that today was going to be a really great conversation. Um, Before we wrap up here, got a couple
Sure.
of announcements. Got a couple of
Yep.
announcements here. So Haley's gonna fire those up because they're more beautiful than our two beards put together. I had to drop a beard joke in there somewhere. So we have a couple of regional roundtables, Touchpoint regional roundtables, one in Hendersonville and then one in Opelika. We'll show that one in just a minute. So let's stay here. There's QR code. If you're interested in coming to that, please pre-register. You get to have a say in the topics that are discussed. That topic could be texting, right? So if you want to continue to build on this and hear from other churches in your area, there's one here in Tennessee and then also one in Opelika. So that's right on the border. War Eagle. I'm sure somebody's going to throw something at me later for saying that, but Laura Shareski's on this call and I love
That's
her
right.
face. So
That's right.
you can scan to be there at Opelika. You may be driving from Georgia, driving down. So hopefully you got the invite. If not, you can always reach out to us. Marketing at touchpointsoftware.com. I'm sure we'll get you where you need to go. And last but not least, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention again Touchpoint Summit, the FBC Dallas. We're thankful for them. They're a partner of PBT as well. So we created a short code. You can text Summit to 614-892-7800. It's not as cool as 007, I'll admit that. But you can register for Summit through texting. It's super easy. Do it on your phone, please. It's going to be our biggest and best yet. I'm really excited. Last year was my first Summit. And I can't wait to see all your beautiful faces, including Powered by Text. You guys just do such a great job taking care of our church partners. So always thankful for you. David, do you have any final thoughts before we say our thank you and goodbye?
Man, what a great opportunity just to have a great conversation with you, Matt. Thanks for what you guys are doing. We look forward to seeing you at First Dallas later in the summer. We'll certainly be there, and it's just been a privilege to have this conversation today. If anybody out there does need some additional help or has
Mm-hmm.
questions, feel free to text me. Just text the word David, David, to 77007, and we'll connect with you and make sure we're helping you wherever you need help. Thanks, Matt. It's been a
Yeah.
great time with you.
Awesome. Appreciate you, brother, and looking forward to the next time God has our paths cross. And to all of our church partners and maybe not PBT users yet, maybe not Touchpoint users yet, you might be out there. We love you guys and we appreciate what you're doing for the kingdom. And we just hope that you guys have a great Holy Week. We are praying for you and we look forward to hearing all the testimonies that come out of this season. So thanks again, guys, and God bless.